getting this Instagram live started today. Rosin Ryan. Thanks everyone who is tuning in. Rosin Ryan should be here in just a minute. I literally never know what to say before these things get started. So let's get it going. From myself. All right. Cool. He is connecting now. Hey.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's going pretty darn well. How are you?
Doing pretty good over here.
Yeah. Ah, you're at the lab.
Yep. I actually went to the house for a little bit, figured I'd come back and do it at the lab, so might as well.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me today. I say this every time, but for everyone who's tuning in, I'm going to say this about 3 or 4 times throughout the segment. You've probably seen it. Solventless Hash Q&A with the man himself, Rosin Ryan, in the lab. Super stoked. If you've got a question, pop it in the question box at the bottom. There's a little question. There's 2 little boxes. It's a lot easier to keep track of it. I'll keep an eye on the comments. But how you doing today, Ryan? It's been a little bit.
Yeah, I'm doing good as I can with all the crazy shit going on in the world right now.
Yeah, case in point, I'm here at my house and you're at the lab, mask on. You guys have a COVID protocol?
Yeah, we're all in our own little stations. We've all got to have the masks on. We've all got to just do the normal stuff over here. But yeah, we've actually kind of had to space out our areas a little bit, especially with trimming and everything like that as well. Just trying to stay as separate as possible, really.
Yeah. Well, still making tons of hash. Have you guys been seeing a lot of demand? It looks like sales are definitely up.
Yep. And we just expanded not too long ago, so we're just trying to see exactly how much we can pump out in a day with keeping up with quality and stuff right now.
Awesome. So you guys are kind of pushing the limits right now over at Olio, huh?
Yeah, I think they're washing around 50 pounds a day right now.
Wow. That's crazy. I see Foxtrax, Rackings. We got a ton of great hash makers in here. Thank you guys for joining us. So I'll go through some questions, man, and let you take it away. If there's something you want to talk about, feel free to just jump in. But for everyone who's tuning in, who's not as familiar with you or your work as maybe I am, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into making hash in the first place.
Yeah, I'm the rosin presser at Olio, the rosin extractor. I've been with the company for about over 4 years now. Nice. Started as a packager, went on to hydrocarbon extractions, and eventually, went into the solventless world. And this is, my love. This is where I'm going to stay.
Awesome. So what made you take the jump to solventless if you were doing hydrocarbon before? It seems like a lot of hash makers I've talked to on the show had a very similar path.
Yeah, honestly, it was just it being presented to me. I never had access to fresh frozen material back in Florida, or even when I first moved here. Mm-hmm. So getting to work with fresh frozen, and as soon as we were starting the wash process, we needed somebody to press. Tukes is washing all day, so I was, the first to just kind of raise my hand. It just was a very lucky little position I got to be put in, honestly.
That's awesome. So you've been with Olio. Has it been Olio for the past 4 years or so? Or have you been with some other places too?
No, well, the company we started out before Olio, we split with. But yeah, I've been with Olio since the very beginning of Olio, about a little over 4 years now.
Wow. And has the company changed a lot since then? I bet it has.
Yes, honestly, we've gone from just the basic grow practices that we had before. We've really had to alter to fit just for solventless hash. You have to alter your tech in such a way. We've done so much trial and error. I think we've just come so far as quality since the beginning. Has just been incredible to see. Our team is still small. We've only hired a few more people since the beginning, so we're still a small little company.
So you guys run a pretty tight ship over there. You are the only person pressing rosin for Olio right now. Is that correct?
I actually got an apprentice at the beginning of the year.
Nice.
So my buddy Adam's been helping me just with the quantity that we're trying to push out. It helps to have somebody that's able to prep bags, able to do second presses. I can trust them, doing the whole entire process if I'm not here. Stuff like that, it really does help. After about 600 or 700 grams a day, that's when I notice I start needing a little bit of a hand.
Six or 700 grams a day. Okay, you guys are seriously moving some product in.
Yep.
I've personally noticed the quality has obviously just continued to go up and up and up to be, one of the top hash companies in the state. I mean, what are you washing right now that you're excited about? What's new in your lab?
As far as new stuff, not too much. I'm trying to think. We just got a bunch of like ice cream cake crosses and a bunch of other new things that we're about to pop that are going to be coming through the line here shortly. But honestly, right now we're focusing on our main hitters, getting those to the highest quality we possibly can. Like honestly, we're focusing on consistency right now. I'm not doing too many like new techs or worrying about any new things. I'm really trying to dial everything in right now.
So to just get that super consistency, that's scaling your consistency. That's the name of the game right now.
Exactly. We got to keep this consistency as we grow and expand. I don't want this to fall off at all.
Yeah, so obviously the hash that people are smoking is a reflection of your work. What are you guys doing to ensure that consistency? Because shelf stability is such a hot topic in the industry right now, and I know you guys are actually absolutely one of the best at that. How are you guys scaling that consistency?
It's a lot of note taking. It's a lot of keeping the things that work and ensuring that we keep those going every single time. Even if it takes a little bit more time, we cannot cut corners. That's where I feel like a lot of people fall behind as they scale up, is more corners are being cut as you do it. We're always just trying to get better. I don't even think we're satisfied just yet as hash makers about where we are. So I think it's that too, is I'm never really satisfied with the press. Toots is never satisfied with the wash. And that is a good thing. We're always pushing. The growers are never satisfied. There's no real peak, just yet. As far as shelf life and consistency and stuff, it's so funny, but I never have an actual SOP that I'm following every time. Most of my stuff is visual. It's just gotten to the point where I can see how something's coming out in the jar, and I know it's playing with the hash so often, you get used to it. That's the only way, honestly.
Interesting.
Being involved in the hash. That's the only way.
So, that's definitely the skill of the hash maker to know the resin. And one of the things one of our previous guests said that I'd love for you to comment on is that, a true artisan hash maker will know what a material can make in terms of textures, it not dictating it the other way around. So when you're pressing stuff, it's telling you what you can make with it. Would you say that that's true or not true?
No, it is. It is to a degree. So I can take a strain and make, a variety of consistencies with it. But when I'm squishing that strain, I can tell I want to keep this one fresh press. I know if it's super sticky and after sitting for 24 hours in the jar, it's just leaking terps. I want to keep that as a cold cure batter. I don't want to put that one in the oven. You know what I mean? So it's certain things to look for like that, where kind of what it wants to do. Exactly. Like there's certain strains that I don't really like to put in the oven, but I do it only because we get requests for the jam. There's certain strains, vice versa, that I think jam out great. Some people like fresh press, so it's all different.
Yeah, well, explain to me a little bit more about, and just as a disclaimer to you and everyone who's watching, share as much or as little as you feel comfortable. We respect the hard-won secrets and techniques that you guys have put your time and energy into. But when it comes to a cold cure versus, in the oven and warm cure, for some of the people that are tuning in, can you explain the difference between those two?
Yeah, so the cold cure is getting no additional heat. It's even sometimes literally put in the cold to gain that terp layer over a period of time. This isn't something that happens overnight either. These certain batches that come out extra terpy and that have that nice terp layer, I think you should honestly, in my opinion, you don't need that extra heat. You should be able to make some nice batter out of that just as is. Sometimes the batches need a little bit of extra help. So the heat, people look at it as a bad thing or like you're ruining something. But we've done enough. We've done so many terp tests. It's going to alter the terp. Yes, it will. but it's not going to destroy how many, like, the terps that you think it's going to destroy. But in my opinion, if you have that natural terp layer, and those are all really good batches. If something's coming down the line that I post a picture of and it's got that amazing terp layer on top, you can almost guarantee that I'm not going to put that one in the oven.
Okay. So the cold cure, common to the popular phrase, is often room temperature. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I know other people call their cold cures different things. So I know other labs might have different things, but our cold cure batter is no additional heat whatsoever. And usually it's stored in the fridge afterward and stuff like that too. So it's just no additional heat whatsoever.
Okay, interesting. You know, a topic that we discuss all the time on these Q&As is, you know, what the terms mean, and that so many different terms are out there in the industry.
Yeah,
so
it's really like personal, like what you want to call it. You want to call it the jam, you want to call it sauce, you want to call it cold cure. And there also is, you know, I know ways to, you can put the batter in for weeks at a time and also get that same terp layer. It's just a matter of time as well. We can leave a jar out for a day and see a little bit of, you know, that layer. You can leave it in for about a week in the freezer and just begin to start seeing that as well.
Okay. So does that kind of come down to the actual terpene concentration of the hash itself, or like what are the factors there? I mean, it seems straightforward, but as someone who doesn't press rosin all day like you do, I trust the experts here. What do you see there?
I think it's strain and how well it came out in the grow. It's because you can have two side-by-side, you know, runs of whatever, and the one that performed better in the garden, that was healthier, that healthier plant is probably going to have a higher terp content. Yeah, there's so many different little variables, honestly.
So have you seen, you know, differences in hash in the same strain, just depending on like how it was grown? That's how different you're saying it is.
Yeah, totally.
Wow. And what's the method of grow that you guys are using over at Olio?
Ours is just a basic like cocoa grow. I think they're using like 15 gallons. They're pretty big pots. We use stake method. It's honestly, it's like a basic basement grow kind of blown up. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
So taking what works.
The masters of the staking over there.
That's awesome. So do you get to kind of pick some of the material that comes to you, or how does your process selection with Tukes work?
Yep. So yeah, Tukes is the man to pick all the strains and stuff. We kind of just go through. We know just based on history most of the time, unless we're doing a pheno hunt, the history of how well the strains wash. So we'll be able to go through. You can literally, we'll go through and pick right away. This is going to this. This is going to that. Sometimes if we have little splits at the end, we might get extra. BHO might get a little extra. So sometimes at the end we'll split a strain or something, or just to see how it performs in BHO if we haven't done it in, you know, a little bit.
Okay. So do you guys test wash, or you know, do you commit to a big wash and just go for it, or how do you not lose your ass there?
No. Tukes likes to do little testers before he goes in with the big one. It just, some of those washes, especially the size they are now, you don't want to take up half your day just washing something that ends up just doing horrible. It really is. It's a downer.
Yeah. Something we've heard a lot in the pursuit of the best flavors, a lot of duds out there. Are there any strains that like you loved, but they just didn't yield enough to be a regular production plant?
So many. I honestly, I wish I could write down all the ones that we thought were going to do great and then just didn't do good, or the ones we really wanted to do well and then they still just, no. Sometimes it's just not meant to be, honestly. You can love the terp. There's actually two that we have around that just, they're not really good washers, but I think we'll keep the Juice Man 6 forever just because it's so damn good.
What is the cross on that one? I'm not super familiar with that strain.
That is Papaya and Fabulosa.
Ooh,
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So are you seeing yourself running a lot of crosses from Oni? It seems like you guys are kind of the masters of the fruit.
Exotic stuff. We really like, it seems that they do so well that you're like, all right, well, let's try another one. But yeah, we're going through a few few others right now. I wish I had some of the ones that are going to be in rotation soon that we're popping.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had the names of all of them, but yeah, Oni just does well for us. It seems like they breed for hash.
Oh. Are there any other breeders or geneticists that you've seen coming through the lab a lot or that you just are personally fond of?
Exotic, Swamp Boys, Canorado. I feel like I've said the same ones on other podcasts and stuff, but those are just like the staples.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's other ones out there.
Yeah. Have you been pressing anything cool last week or this week that you're excited about? Because for people who are tuned in who are in Colorado, what can people expect to come out of your lab soon?
Let's see what I did here. Oh man, we got some LA Kush gas tanker. I did Juice Man 6, Gas Man, which is a combination of gas tanker and the Juice Man. Our Dayglow has been coming out amazing. It's a citrus strain.
Nice.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of ice cream cake and GMO mixes as well.
Wow. Stack lineup coming out of the lab.
Exactly. We got some Lucky Charms. That it's one of the first few times we've ran it, so I was just kind of seeing how that one did for us.
How did it do? Because I've heard of that strain like maybe a while ago, or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I'd have to look at Tukes' chart to see what it did on the ice hash.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't yield the best for me either.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it probably did that great for him. But
yeah,
yeah, I actually can't say I have the most fond of the flavor either. But whatever. Some of them aren't keepers. So, but Chem D is making a comeback. Our old school Chem D I-95.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So that's a super gassy one that I've always enjoyed since I started here, really.
Well, what kind of strains do you like personally? I mean, as I think a lot of people respect you, obviously, for your posts and being a terrific hash maker, but tell everyone, like, what are you into personally in hash?
I'm into terps. I honestly, it's literally just my mood. I don't smoke indicas at a certain time or sativas at a certain time. It's honestly what I'm just feeling like tasting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll take big old banana dabs in the morning. I don't care if it gets me sleepy. Sometimes I just want that terp. It really just depends on my mood. I've really always loved fruity and citrusy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know that some people, really don't go for those, but I love them, man. I'm not actually a huge fan of cookies or cake strains.
But they yield so well, you probably have to press them all the time.
Exactly. Some of them are good, like cookies and cream and stuff. I think tastes great. It's like yeah.
Yep.
I like everything, honestly.
Nice. So, bunch of different profiles. Personally, a huge fan of the Valencine, the orange terps. I think that's my favorite profile. Like Tropicana cookies gets me every time. Do you guys get much of that in your lab?
Yeah, we do some trop. We like to see how it turns out because sometimes it washes purple, and we have yet to have that like purple rosin just yet. But we're always hopeful, kind of.
Yeah. Well, that would be cool to see. And I know a lot of people who are tuning in, I'm sure, would love to hear a little bit more. I think you're widely credited as being one of the people that's really taken the jam consistency and made it popular. Is that a shelf stability thing? Is that a personal preference? Is that consumer demand? Like, where did the jam come from, and kind of how did you figure it out?
Well, it came from just watching kind of what others were experimenting with on Instagram, and I was just trying to follow along, and with the information that I was getting, I just knew was not correct. So that came down to just doing a whole bunch of R&D in the lab. But yeah, it honestly comes down to a personal preference and shelf stability issue. The fresh press, as everybody knows, if you don't leave it, put it back in the fridge and you leave it out, within a day or two, it's starting to degrade. It's starting to butter up. You're losing terps. You're kind of have a lesser product than you did just a few days prior if you don't remember to put it in the fridge. This was just literally, how can we mimic live resin and make a product where you don't have to put it in the fridge? It's nicer to dab after it's been left out at room temperature. It's like saucy. It drips off that dabber. You can see the visible crystals inside of it. I think everything about that was just kind of appealing to me.
Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I remember a while ago, you put out some test results on your jams that took a ton of comments to get through, that you saw a higher terpene test result after you had jammed it. Is that right?
I mean, and we've done this a few times, and I'm trying to get the the most, accurate representation of the sample. So I'm not trying to pull terpenes from the top of the jam jar. I was trying to mix it around and really get some of the crystals, get some of the terps, and then compare that to our classic rosin. And almost every time we saw a significant increase. And when I first posted that, it was more of asking a question. It was more of, can somebody explain to me why this might be? I know it caused a whole bunch of controversy, but I don't know. I really do think it's just the ratio of fats that are gone in the jar and other factors. I don't think it's actually like, there's no way it's actually like growing terps out of thin air. I know there's no possible way. I just wanted to know why the ratio was different. And I was trying to take accurate, sampling. I'm not just taking the juice off of the top.
So what kind of is your current thought on the matter if it's a little inconclusive right now?
I honestly think it's just a ratio thing. I think that the terpene profile is altered slightly, and it's actually depending on the strain as well. You notice some of the fruitier strains, they get altered a little bit more than some of these gassier strains by the end of the jam process. So there's a whole bunch of things.
Okay. So solid changes. I mean, I remember one of the things that Ken Wall told me a long time ago was, he was a chef in a former life, and he said that heat modifies things, just like you've said. It doesn't necessarily destroy things. So on the topic of like the warm cures, you don't think that you're necessarily always losing something when you're warming it up in the jar, or
No,
explain that to me.
it seems like it's slightly altering the terpene profiles, honestly. Certain monoterps turn. It's honestly pretty complicated. I wish I knew the science behind exactly what was happening inside the jar, but I can tell you that it's the fats. You can visibly see them melting down. All the opaque lipids that you normally see in rosin. You can watch them kind of melt in the jar, which, if you were to ask me this 2 years ago, I would have said that the terps would have melted way faster than the fats inside the jar, but it's clearly not the case.
So now it's kind of the other way around.
Yeah, honestly, we've just done so many tests now. It's just so strange. But I mean, I love the jam. I smoke the jam, dab the jam all the time. I thoroughly enjoy it. I don't feel like it ruins anything.
Yeah, no, it seems extremely shelf stable, and we've bought a ton of Olio at the office, and Cliff, who's one of our top dudes, he smokes a lot of Olio, and he said that he's had some of your jams out at room temperature for like over a month, and they literally do not change at all.
Nice, awesome. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. Are there any other consistencies that you guys are putting out a lot of? I mean, it sounds like you're not super big on the butters. Is it a lot of just jams and fresh press, or what do you guys mostly put out?
Fresh press. We're doing cold cure and heated batters, and then the jams as well. And then we also are doing the rosin pens right now.
Well, tell me a little bit about the rosin pens. How long were you guys working on those? Because we've heard that the viscosity is a challenge.
Yes, it's a challenge, and finding that the hardware has been pain. Honestly, we've had quite a few that we think work, and then we'll go to do a mass, drop of them, and we'll get a few complaints about the hardware. It's never usually the flavor, anything like that. It's the hardware. It's pulling through, all this shit. It's kind of hard to find like a really good hardware, and we don't want to copy another, high-end brands pens and go with the same one, because everyone will think you're just kind of copying somebody. So we're trying to find another pen that's, also going to be able to perform like we want it to.
I mean, what do you think some of the hardware is lacking? Is it, is it getting too hot? I mean, I know that there's
a few things, honestly. I think it's finding a perfect aperture hole. It's finding the perfect voltage, because obviously these things you don't want to heat up really like you would any type of other, dabbable product. You want the rosin to be heated at I want it to be a low temp dab kind of like.
Yeah.
I want these things to be not burning the hash. So it's been a challenge for me to find something that that works on a mass scale, that people don't complain about, or I don't know. That's been our biggest issue, honestly, not finding strains or different flavors to put in the pens. It's all about the hardware really right now, and I think we've found one that we've kind of have been using for a while, and I think we've found to be reliable, but we'll see in the long run what we end up sticking with.
Yeah, so for anyone who's tuned in, if you know someone that's in the cartridge manufacturing game, please tell them to put a little more time and energy into some rosin cartridge hardware, because this is something that we've heard repeatedly.
Yeah, and I know there are some great ones out there and stuff like that. And I personally know some guys that are doing great stuff out there with the carts, but I don't know. I guess the managers here, we just haven't found one that works on a mass scale just yet. So
yeah, and the voltage thing is worth lingering on for just a second, because Mikey from Harvest Moon Gardens out in California, I went to Emerald Cup a while ago, and he said that the low, like the 2.6, if you're really using much higher voltage than that, he thought that it was really just burning terps and not giving you the optimal flavor profile. Do you have like a voltage that you guys have found that works best, or like a range?
I would honestly be the last person to ask. I am not. I am even. I'll take a rig on the go, man.
Okay. Not a cart man.
I'm the last person to ask about the pens, but I honestly want to say they're in the low twos. But I would have to ask our pen guy Shane.
So the proper way to get the real full flavor profile cannot skip the rig.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the go though, it's just so nice to have a little pen. But I know I understand why people love pens too, but they're just not for me.
Yeah,
it's literally a personal thing.
No, and I say that knowing that I think rosin cartridges, and I'd love to get your input on this, are probably the best way to open up solventless to more consumers and more casual users who might not be the level of connoisseur that you are, but they still want to enjoy a super high quality product. Would you say that that's right?
Exactly. A lot of people are just intimidated by the torch and the nail and everything like that. When you're first starting out, just to see that, I guess, is kind of intimidating. We've been doing it so long that it's second nature. But I guess if you are dabbing with somebody that isn't used to it, that could probably be pretty intimidating.
Especially if you glob them out too hard and then they're never the same. But
exactly.
Well, we are about a half hour in here. This conversation is absolutely flying. For everyone who is tuned in, we've got Rosin Ryan with us. This conversation will be up on Instagram about 5 minutes after the hour. I will get that posted, and then in a week or two, we'll have this up on YouTube as well. If you missed any of it, you want to watch the whole thing. So I'm going to throw in a question from the audience here. Please do. We've gotten a couple. Let's see. Foxtrax is asking, how much are you pressing at a time?
I'm pressing about 20 grams at a time. I do 2 really small bags side by side on my press. And I'm using the 2.5 by 4.5 bags. I'm plugging you in here. I don't want my phone to die while I'm doing this here.
Oh, you're good.
So I have 2 tiny little patties side by side on the press. They're
okay.
10 grams in each one, so about 20 grams at a time.
Okay, so you're doing the small presses. Have you seen better results on your end doing a small press? It sounds like you've been doing that for a long time.
Yep, I love the small presses. I get more clarity in the presses. I don't get as much of the micro bubble thing going on.
Okay.
Yep, I really just love the quality control that I get over the small presses. I'd rather do more and it take longer, honestly.
To preserve that quality that you're looking for. It sounds like you guys are obsessed with that, which is key.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. And when you're pressing, do you press at a variety of different temperatures depending on what you're trying to do? I mean, again, you don't have to tell us your trade secrets, but like, what's your temp range and what do you like to do with your press?
I can tell what temp I'm going to press it at just by how sticky it is. The bags are in my hands while I'm prepping them. If they aren't really that greasy, I can press up to 200 degrees. If they're feeling real greasy and nice, I could drop it to 170, 160. So it really just depends how the quality of the hash and the heads.
Okay. So is like 160 around your lower threshold? Have you ever gone much lower than that?
Back in the day when I was doing experimenting, when I first got your guys' press, I
Yeah.
was, oh, is this bothering you too with me being the other way here?
I mean, it's the audio that matters for the most part, but
Okay, here.
that's better if that will work for your phone.
There. It's balancing on the little charging cord there.
Okay.
No, oh yeah, what were you saying?
Oh, just talking about, you said you were doing some experimentation on like
Oh
the
yeah,
really
yeah.
lower threshold.
Yep. So when I first got the press, I wanted to see literally how low I could go. So I was pressing at like 120, 130, but you would get hash come out and stuff, and it'd look amazing. But the yields are just so low on the first press that you're essentially just having to go in the second time and get everything out again. And if you weren't going to do a third press, it was almost like that second press was a first press. So it all is just like a fine line.
Okay, so you could go up in temp a little bit, get just as good quality, and then not have to press it 3 times, basically.
Exactly. It's finding the golden temp is what I call it. It's where I can get an amazing first quality press. Nothing's even close to buttering on that first press. I'm still getting a decent yield, and then I can go back and squeeze the rest of the hash out the second time.
So when you do your second press, are you going up in temperature, or are you just hitting it again?
If I'm already up in temperature near 200, I'll keep it the same. I don't ever go above 200 degrees on anything, even second press. But usually I will go up a few degrees, and I'll hit pressure quicker, full pressure, and it goes for 2 to 3 times as long.
Okay, so that's just getting it all
It's
out.
literally getting all the hash out.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you pretty much do a second press every time, or do you get it all out sometimes?
Some of the really greasy strains, you'll just get an amazing first press yield. You'll get like 75, 80% almost in the first, and then you'll just have a little tiny bit in the second.
Oh, so for those ones, it's just kind of using all parts of the buffalo.
Exactly. Those really good heads and stuff, though, most of the time, like you said, will come out in the first press.
Okay. And as far as clarity goes, have you noticed that that has a lot to do with when the plants are pulled or the strain itself? Like clarity is such a hot topic. I'd love to hear, what your thoughts are on color and clarity.
So color is where that comes into play. Pulling early and stuff is color. We don't really believe in having that white hash is really the biggest concern for us, honestly. I mean, it looks great, don't get me wrong, but if ours is yellow but clear as can be, the clarity is where I feel like the quality comes in, honestly.
Oh, so key distinction there, and a good correction for me. Color, clarity, often confused or used interchangeably.
You can see
very
white
different
hash
things.
pouring out of a press, but if you look closely, it's all just bubbles. But you can also have amazing blonde white hash, but it's super clear. That's when you have that quality.
So what do you think? So that opaque nature, translucent nature of it, what does that mean when you're looking for something that's really clear? That's a quality indicator in your world?
Yep, that's all in the grow. That's if things aren't right in the grow, you're going to get a ton of micro bubbles and foamy hash going on.
Oh, and do you have any idea why that might be?
Tons of additives in the grow, improper flushing. A lot of people think you need a bunch of stuff that you really don't need for making the plants pretty and dense and bigger and all this other stuff. When it comes down to the trike head, you're actually just kind of screwing yourself over.
So growing plant and buds for shelf or bag appeal, it's totally different for solventless, especially because you're really just resin farming. I think that's the best way I put it.
Yep, we have buds that if we were to go sell those as flower, they would look so mediocre. You'd be like, what is this? But you actually look at the trike heads, they're so bulbous, and the ratio of the heads to the actual surface area of the buds, it's like that's what you're looking for. It's like those thin membranes, the fatty heads.
So do you guys ever get down with like a microscope and look at the plants?
Yeah, they're checking them out with the loops and scopes all the time.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So, okay, for everyone who's tuning in, that's a super important nugget of wisdom is just if something doesn't look like it's going to make the high times cover, it could still be a total winner for solventless, it sounds like.
Yep. That's another thing too, with having these like big old dense buds. Sometimes it's not those dense nugs that are really going to wash good anyway. You got to get inside the nug. So sometimes a little bit fluffier is better.
Oh, and we hear a lot and we see a lot that hybrids and indicas seem to be the things that are pressed the most, especially with hash. Has that been your experience, or are there any sativas that you've been messing around with too?
There's very few sativas that we found to wash, honestly. I was just reading, somebody made a post the other day about some haze cross that looked pretty interesting. They said it washed pretty decently, but in our experience, we haven't had too many sativa washers, man. We've tried a few times, and they don't yield.
Oh, that's too bad. Do you think that's because of that bud structure? Because I'm sure Tukes would have a lot to say about that, but I think that's super important in the wash process.
I honestly think it's the trikes, the shape of the trikes, and just how they attach themselves to the membrane of the plant itself. I think that needs to be looked into more than just the actual bud structure of the plant. Because you would honestly think that those would wash great, because you can get inside everywhere. You don't really have to agitate it too much. You would think that all those trikes would just fall off in there, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes there is no real stock for it to fall off of. Sometimes it's like attached to the plant itself, and I don't know. Sometimes those just aren't the good washers, even though I would love them to be. I love lemons and like heavy orange, like hazes and stuff like that. But yeah, we've just found that they don't wash that well.
Right. So for commercial production, it's not going to pass. But it's like trichome detachability, and I think
I can actually take this off for a second. Everyone's out of here, so.
Okay. Yeah. You're like, okay. Yeah. Nice. Well, there's Rosin Ryan in flesh. For everyone who has not seen some of the weak neck trichome stuff, do you follow? I think it's Schwale. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right, but they put out a bunch of Schwale. Thank you for correcting me.
I actually don't. I don't know how to pronounce it either, so I just call it Schwale. But
okay. Well, that sounds better than what I said. So, I mean, have you seen those macros of the weak neck the weak neck trichomes?
Yes, and I also seen, was he the ones doing some of the UV pictures with the macros and stuff like that? I don't know.
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
That's interesting, because it seems like that's exactly the topic that we need to learn more about, is more of that detachability, so that you could identify something before you ever wash it.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be really nice to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, again, anyone who's tuned in, please help us out here. If you've got something that you could bring to the table to get some more macros and help us learn a little bit more, that'd be great. So
yeah, like Fox just said, like the length of the trichome stalk, like honestly, it makes sense. The longer it is, the more bulbous the head. It just wants to get knocked off of there.
Yeah. Okay. And do you wash, or excuse me, right way to put this would be, do you press a lot of mixed micron for the most part? Do you guys do single micron pressing? How do you make your selection there?
So every single batch we do has 90s and 120s. They're pulled out of our first wash. So we separate those, and I press them separately. And then everything else, even 90s and 120s from the second wash onward, that's all our mixed micron.
All together.
40 to 179 U technically, if you want to get technical.
Well, I like getting technical.
Yeah. So yep, we do mixed micron of every single batch, and we also do 90 and 120 of every single batch.
Okay. Do you guys ever play with sift, or you guys just do ice water?
It seems like we're about to here pretty soon. We have so much going on that I think we're going to introduce kind of another line maybe down the road.
Cool.
Of just a little bit lesser quality rosin, made with some of our partners dried, like the trim material, and dry sifting that and kind of refining our dry sift technique, and maybe doing some rosin with that down the line. That's something we've just kind of talked about.
Cool. And do you see promise for solventless based edibles or like food grade oil? I mean, I'd love to get your take on that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I even enjoy a nice hash edible high, a little bit more than a distillate. I enjoy that body buzz. I enjoy that heavy, relaxing high that the hash edible seems to give me more than the distillate edibles. So yeah, I think there's a huge market for that. And people in general that are just against distillate, even though you know how it goes.
Yeah, I think that you have done a great job historically, as long as I've known you and in your posts and following you, about being pretty neutral when it comes to a lot of the extraction topics and not necessarily saying, one thing is the right thing to do. But you're right that there's a lot of opinions when it comes to this,
Yeah.
especially in the solventless community.
Exactly. So everyone's got their opinion. So I just like to say everything, is my opinion. Don't get offended. But
Yeah.
I'll smoke it all. I'll eat it all.
Yeah, I mean, distillate edibles are the most common, obviously, or CO2, but it's a little one-dimensional to me. That's my issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to talk about distillate too much, but that's funny that, there are some distinctions there. Is that something that you guys might do one day, or is that not really on the menu?
That's probably one of the things that's not going to be on the menu. Edibles is a whole different beast within itself, with the fire department and the other things you have to go through. The hoops you have to go through with an edible company are so different than with a extract company or a grow. I don't think we want to get into that just yet. So
yeah,
we're gonna hold off on that.
Yeah,
exactly. We'll leave that to the professionals. If we ever go down that road, we'll probably team up with somebody or do something like that.
No, that's awesome. All right, I need to make sure that I can put some questions to you because we're getting a ton here, but I can't get through them all. All right, here's just a quick one just for fun. What do you think? Where are you at with the Addy game?
TTRS for sure.
Yeah, that's what you drive, right?
I wish. I just drive a base TT, but it would be nice to have that 5-cylinder.
No, that's awesome. I see pictures of your car all the time, and I'm pretty envious because that thing is awesome. So
thank you very
much. Okay. Addy makes a great car. Check out his pictures if you haven't already. Do you press in a cold room?
No, actually it's just room temp right here. So this is like 68 to 70 degrees in here.
Yeah. Have you ever pressed in a cold room, or do you think that that's important or not?
Honestly, I could actually see that being. I actually have never pressed in a cold room, so I don't know. It might actually be really easy to collect the rosin though, if it's all nice and stable. It's pretty stable at room temperature, so I could imagine it might even be like that shatter that you have to be careful of folding the parchment so it doesn't fly away.
Yeah.
So I don't know, honestly.
Yeah. Hey, well, honest answers are good.
Ours is just, room temp though. And we have, a lot of people will probably wonder, like I have can you see the oven right there?
Uh-huh.
It is right next to the press. So I'm always pressing and just watching what's in the oven. I don't have a set timer that these are going in.
Oh, okay.
So I got it's all visual.
Okay. So do you have any advice for new hash makers that are trying to learn and to, read the resin the way that you do? What would you tell those people?
Well, honestly, the first thing I would tell them is to get acquainted with the plants in the grow. That's what's going to help more than anything. When you're with these plants all the time, you're going to be accustomed to the resin that they're producing. You get accustomed to the resin. It's all just like a chain. So honestly, that would be the biggest thing I would say, honestly, is get used to the plants. Being around plants, get used to the hash. Play with hash as much as you can. Even if you have dry sift, play with that. If you have bubble hash, it's trial and error. It's playing with hash. It's you got to want the results too. It's not going to come, the first time is usually the worst for most people unless you have just amazing luck. But yeah, there's only up to go from there. So it's just playing with the hash all the time.
So you clearly had some hits and misses along the way. So if I'm taking some out, it's don't get discouraged, but keep going.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally been batches I've ruined here at Olio because I'm trying to do R&D or messing with stuff. You cannot get discouraged ever. You might have a bad batch in a room come out. There's all these things that are going to happen. If you ever grow anything in your life, you're going to know that it's not just, the sunny days. There's like gardening is hard work. Those guys in the grow, they crush it. They are doing way more physical shit than I am pressing rosin nowadays. When I used to grow and stuff myself and harvest and make my own hash, you really see the whole picture of what goes into this.
Yeah. Okay. So you started with growing, obviously a lot of labor of love. And I've heard from so many of the other hash makers we've had on the show that the respect of the plant is where it all starts. So your experience with growing probably helped lead you to where you are, just like you said at the beginning.
Oh, it definitely helped so much. Learning about the plant helped me learn more about hash in general. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I know I've been a lot of Fox Tracks question, not even. All right. Well, we'll see if you feel like answering this, but if you don't want to give away your secrets, you don't have to. But any
Nope.
general advice on how to help people with their jam, this is probably why half the people are tuning in right now.
Yep. So, like I said, everybody, it's all visual. If you put something in and you set it for a timer for an hour, you could come back to it being completely decarbed, and you can't do anything but make mediocre pens with it, because even then you've put it in the oven too long to make pens with it. I have my oven set at the same temperature as most of the time I'm pressing, 180 degrees Fahrenheit. It stays at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. I actually have a little sticker on it now that says, like, do not touch it.
Do not.
Because I've had a few people touch it. But yeah, it's 180 degrees. It all depends on how much is in the jar, and the different strains also can take a different amount of time. If there's more fats in the strain, if there's more THC, if there's more terps.
So when you're doing a strain, you're checking in on it a lot, it sounds like, to figure out what that time is, because I'm sure it's variable, right?
Yeah, it's all variable. And all my batches aren't the same size either. So if I, do a batch of Juice Man and I have a 150 gram jar, but the next time I do Juice Man, I can't just try to guesstimate a time. It doesn't work that way, honestly.
Okay. So, and I mean,
it's
all visual. And what are some of the visual cues that you're looking for to know if it's heading in the right direction or not?
You will first start to see the rosin begin to bubble, and it almost starts looking like it's boiling up. It's still completely opaque. It'll start to turn into that butter.
Yeah.
You'll notice your fresh press, your transparent fresh press will turn into a butter, and then the butter will start to bubble up, and it'll look like a batter inside the jar. And then as it begins to melt down even further, you will see from the bottom up, it actually starts to get transparent again. You can see the fats inside the jar melting down, and until it almost looks like it's completely liquid almost in there. I could reach inside there with a gloved hand. Be careful, it's all hot.
Yeah.
And tilt the jar on its side, and it will completely move. It's the
just like the water in my glass. It'll move like this. Is that what you're saying?
It'll almost move like that. Yeah, there'll be a little bit of foam on top. Yeah, it completely changes the way it looks. I've posted a few pictures of right before I pull it out of the oven, but I should honestly post a few more.
So
so I'm reading somebody here writing too. It will get darker too. So don't be scared of that. It'll look darker than it will eventually become once it crashes out and the THC starts crashing.
So tell us a little bit more about this, because this is a question we get a lot about, the nucleation and the crashing out of the THCA. How does that process happen, and when does that happen?
So I'm going to actually, here, let me show you here, because I'm in the lab. This is why I came here.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, and let me show you too. So here's like my little station.
Yep.
As I'm pressing, I'm literally looking over, just seeing how it looks. That's my timer. Literally, it's all visual. And here's all the crew I drew.
Oh, nice, sketching it out.
But yeah, here, let me show you something real quick.
Yeah, give us a little tour.
Yeah, so this is like the post-production area. You can see there's like the vac ovens for the BHO and everything. There's
so you don't use vac ovens though. You just use straight non-pressurized.
Yep, I just use this little convection oven.
Oh, easy. Don't need anything crazy.
Yep, just a little one. We got just our like packaging areas and stuff over here.
Nice. So you guys have a tidy operation.
Yeah, I don't want to get too close to anybody. I'm staying away.
Yeah.
So this is like our freezer room where we keep all our frozen stuff. And this is like my literal like rosin station. So I'll have all like my bags and stuff, and I'll just kind of prep. You can see that this fits perfectly.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And
Okay. So
it just stays
I get
cold.
it.
So I'm not even working in a cold room. It's just
Hmm.
staying cold from the freezer.
No, that's cool. Do you have any samples we could take a look at, or is it all
Yep,
packaged
I'm
up?
actually going to show you right now what I have going on back here.
This
So
is what everyone tuned in for.
this is my nucleation area. So it's literally, and I pulled this off. Normally you would have, I don't like any light going in there.
Hmm.
So I have you just like a little cloth on both sides, just kind of.
Is that because the light degrades some of the cannabinoids and terpenes?
Exactly. And these are going to be some really good ones I'm going to be posting pictures of soon.
Oh, I can see the liquid from here. I mean, that's like half liquid, it almost appears.
Look at this.
Yeah, wow.
This one's crashing out like crazy.
So again,
This
tell us a little more about the crash process while you're walking us through here.
this one. So yeah, so they all get put on the heat mat after they go into the oven, and they're all at oven for varied times. Like this one barely got put into the oven. This one's going to be a batter. This one's going to be batter, and I'm not going to open up any of these just yet. They're not quite ready.
No,
They come in
we can see
tomorrow
it.
and open them up. But yeah, so these will be batter, and you can see this is like going to be a really wet batter.
Thin layer on top.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see exactly what you're saying. It's
Yep.
almost like honey that has been in the microwave or something.
Yep. So these are almost going in order of time they spent in the oven. So that one, then this one, which is a super wet batter, which went into the oven for even longer.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow. Okay.
once we mix that up, it's going to look insane. I might post this one up, a video of it tomorrow. And this one was melted in the oven for the longest. And now it is really crashing out. You can see there. And you can see it. This is how, when I say it looks darker at first, you're going to be scared because it's going to look like this. But then it's going to get lighter as the THC begins to grow.
So it's this whole conversion process that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. And usually they don't sit for longer than 2 or 3 days.
Oh, so that's
Yeah,
pretty quick.
80% of them are done within 2 days.
No, that's awesome. I wish I could smell it. That's the one thing that I'm
I
really
know.
missing right now.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
cool. Anything else in the lab that we should see or that you're allowed to share?
I mean, honestly, it's just the basic stuff. That the BHO setup is back here. We have our C1D1 room. It's all explosion proof.
Yeah.
We got our pen set up over here. It's pretty basic.
No, that's awesome. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is how some of the best hash in the whole world is made at a station just like yours and literally at yours, that it's not this gargantuan production line, that it's like one man with a team behind him working at a press making some of the best hash in the world. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah, literally, I got one assistant helping me out now, but for a while, it's literally was just a one-man team, and we can make, now we know we can make 25 to 3,000 grams of rosin a week.
No, that's cool.
This press right here, and I'm repping you guys today.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you rocking the shirt for the IG Live, man. I know you've been with us for a long time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, we've got about 6 minutes left here, and I've got maybe 2 more questions to ask. For everyone who's tuning in, remember, you can catch the whole thing on Instagram right afterwards if you want to listen in. Tons of good info here. Totally recommend listening to the whole thing. Rosin Ryan's got some great info, and then it'll be on YouTube in a week or 2 as well. So awesome. What do you think? What's the future of solventless in your world, man? Where do you think solventless is headed right now?
Honestly, I think everyone's just the quality game is going to improve. Everyone is just stepping up their game, and you just see everyone else, and it kind of, at least me, I'm loving it. I'm seeing what these other guys are doing, and I just want to keep pumping out fire and get new genetics for the lab and putting out new flavors and consistency. Keeping this up. That's what I just really want to see for the future.
So same quality at scale, more flavors.
Better quality.
Are there better quality? Right. Okay. Good. Again, another good correction. Even better quality is where we're headed. I mean, do you think solventless is the pinnacle of cannabis concentrates?
Again, it's just my personal opinion. But yeah,
Of course.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
No, that's great. And are there any other hash makers or people that you would recommend others who are tuned in would
Oh
follow?
man.
Like who inspires you?
Honestly, this is one thing I wish I could write down so many people that have like helped
Yeah.
me out through this whole entire thing. There's honestly been so many. I know Sam, Mile High. He's been one of the nicest kids. There's honestly so many locals around here that I've gotten to talk to and meet that have been great. But yeah, I wish I could link up with some more of them too. I feel like I'm in my own little world too. I'm out here. I kind of do my own thing, but yeah, I look up to so many different hash makers. It's ridiculous. I wouldn't even consider myself, at the very top of those guys.
Well, I think being humble is a great attitude to have. When you say Sam, you're talking about Samwise. You used to work at Essential Extracts.
Yeah. I think he's a great guy. There's honestly so many other guys out there I could be shouting out right now too. But the hash game right now is it's incredible.
And is it demand? Is it people want to get into this? Like, why is solventless going crazy right now? What do you think?
I really think people are realizing, just other than the cleanliness of the hash and just the whole organic aspect of the process, it's just going to come down to people that always wanted the best flour. They're realizing now that some of the best flour is making some of the best hash. And it's just that connoisseur mentality of people always wanting the best. And I think people are out there, looking for that. That's why like the black market is so strong right now. Those home grows that are killing it. People just want to smoke really high quality heads. That's really honestly what it comes down to is quality.
No, that's awesome. So with the remaining time we got left, I got one last question for you. What advice do you have for just new hash makers in general? We talked about really becoming acquainted with the plants, the flower. What about in the process of learning? What advice would you give to anyone who's tuned in right now?
Just be open to, you got to be open to learning. You got to want to learn. You have to love hash and the plant itself. You got to be excited to dab what you're making. I honestly think that's what it comes down to, is like being so excited watching it come off the press that you cannot wait to dab something and for others to want to dab it. That's the only way. But honestly, working hard is what got me here. I started as a packager, just letting your dreams be known. I moved here to make hash. This is what I wanted to do. I had a goal, and you just got to work hard, and eventually, the right people will take notice. That's really all it comes down to.
That's awesome. How can anyone find your products? You guys are in just Colorado right now, is that correct?
Yep, just Colorado right now. We'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, and you can find some drop locations on your website, or how do you get tuned in with the Olio drops so people can pick up some of your fine products?
Yeah, we got a website. We got the Instagram, dabolio710. It's got a link to our site and stuff. They should be posting drop info as well. And just call your local dispensary. Ask if they carry Olio rosin or any type of Olio products.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So for everyone who did not write that down, just took a dab, or is super stoned and won't remember, I will put that in the description of the Instagram post too, so everyone can find out where your rosin can be found.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I seriously appreciate you doing this, and I appreciate everybody that's watching right now. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time out of your evenings, everybody. I know it's after work for some people, so appreciate all your time. Make sure to check out the full video on YouTube in a week or two when it comes up. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time, man.
Thanks again, Eric.
All right. Hey, take it easy.
See you, bud.